Thank you much, Mr. Green, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here. You know, a little over a year ago, there were some horrible floods just outside the district I represent in Wimberley, Texas, that took the lives of several constituents vacationing there for Corpus Christi, Texas. And in fact, some of the bodies of the young children who perished in that horrible flood have yet to be recovered. And my family's prayers and the prayers of the nation go to those grieving families and the survivors, and for the repose of the souls of those who passed. But it's been a lot of flooding in Texas over the past year or so. Just as recently as last week, I represent Wharton, Texas. The river in Wharton rose just as they'd gotten the repairs from the previous flood a few months earlier repaired. All the sheetrock installed, ready, new to go, and sure enough, another flood comes, and the damage to the property continues. Fortunately, the floods of last week and the previous weeks did not result in loss of life in the district that I represent. Thank the Lord for that. But I tell you, in the past 14 months, another county I represent, Bastrop, has experienced the worst flooding it's seen in 35 years. It's currently dealing with $2.5 million in damage to infrastructure, and 20 roads still remain closed today. Of the 100 homes damaged, 100 plus homes damaged in the past 14 months, more than half were determined to be unlivable, and 4 families still remain in temporary housing. Earlier in Wharton County, more than 1,000 people were evacuated and 150 homes flooded. It's really been tough. I was driving through, visited with the emergency management folks in Wharton, and you look at the fields of grain. I posted on Instagram a picture of a Milo field. It said amber waves of flooded grain, cotton fields underwater as well. I think in addition to the property damage, I think our farmers in Texas may suffer from an overabundance of water. As I grew up in a farming family, our complaint was it either rained too much, too little, or at the wrong time. But I tell you, these floods have just been horrible in Texas. But I do want to thank the folks from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management, for their quick response. And what it has told us is we are taking way too much time for projects to stem the flooding, levees and the like, to get approved by the Army Corps of Engineers and the other federal agencies. The funding for it is difficult to come by. We end up spending all this money with FEMA when if some of that money were redirected to preventive maintenance, we might, or preventing these floods, we might save lives and certainly save property as well. And I think it's something that this Congress should look at in preventing problems rather than just reacting to them. And I also want to commend the first responders and the emergency management personnel throughout Texas who have done so much. And I also want to offer my thoughts and prayers to those brave servicemen who perished in Texas in the training exercises as well. It's been a tough few months here back in Texas, but you know what? We are Texans, and we will survive. We will mourn those who've lost, and we will rebuild, and we will continue to reflect that which is the greatest of the American spirit: perseverance through adversity. And I thank you, Mr. Green, for the opportunity to speak, and yield back my time.